Welcome to Coach Connects. Coach Connects is an umbrella programme for Irish cricket coaches, providing opportunities for qualified coaches and non-coaches alike to share knowledge, network, participate in training and to learn from some of the best coaches in cricket. This is our Coach Discussions piece, where we give coaches the platform to share their story. You'll hear from coaches, giving insights on coaching from different sporting codes that will help you in your coaching journey. Welcome to Coach Discussions. I'm your host, Stephen Maxwell, and this week's special guest is Robert Delaney from Mullingar Cricket Club. Welcome, Rob, and thanks for joining us today.
Cheers, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
So let's get started, Rob. Would you mind sharing with our audience, for those that don't know you, who is Rob Delaney?
I'm a 24-year-old secondary school teacher from Mullingar, currently working in Greystones and Temple Carrick. Love sport, play golf, cricket and hockey at the minute, and coach a bit of hockey and hockey and cricket currently.
Brilliant. So you're keeping yourself fairly busy over the summer then, coaching-wise?
Yeah, having the 3 months off definitely helps to get involved as much as possible with cricket, and no, it's enjoyable, and we've been lucky enough this summer weather-wise, especially with the last few heat waves.
Brilliant. So, Rob, let's get started then. What is coaching to you?
I think it's a mixture of things. It's just one, providing a platform or providing an environment where kids or adults can learn and improve on certain skills or learn a game, and also passing on any knowledge you may have or may have tried to learn. And I think that just covers the majority of it. It is very broad, but I think once you're providing an environment and passing on knowledge, that is coaching.
Fantastic answer, Robert. Fantastic answer. And you mentioned there that you're a teacher. I'm just wondering, is there an awful lot of crossover in relation to how you teach and then how you coach?
Yeah, especially in the delivery, I think, in terms of the age group you might be working with, in terms of how much you want to demonstrate it and how complicated you want to make it. And I actually was coaching before I was teaching, so I actually felt like it helped my teaching when I came into it 2 years ago. So no, I think there definitely is a crossover, especially when you're working with kids in that environment. And I also feel it helps you get to know kids a bit better in school, because they kind of see a different side to you as well on a sports pitch, coaching, whatever it may be.
That's fantastic. And then in relation to planning, so obviously you've got to plan all your classes in relation to your teaching. Does it support you then in relation to your session planning for your cricket or your hockey?
Yeah, because I remember years ago working on a summer camp, and it'd be going same for the classroom. You might do one activity that's absolutely loved one week in one venue, and then you bring it to the next venue next week, and it just falls apart on you. The kids don't like it at all, and that could be the exact same for teaching. It just depends on the age group you're working with, the time of the day, what they've had before maybe, and the same with coaching. Whatever kind of mood they come into, it can vary, and that's how the drill could go. And it just means you just need to be able to adapt and change stuff up on the spot. And look, if something doesn't work, it doesn't work. You just don't need to take it to heart.
Brilliant. And like you've mentioned your age there, so you're still probably actively playing as well. So do you feel that playing helps you in relation to your coaching as well?
Yeah, and I think coaching helps me in terms of playing as well, because it makes me just think about the game more, especially because cricket is such a mental game that there's so much going on. It's someone described it as like human chess, that there's so many different moving pieces in terms of, you need to be so calculated in what you want to do next, and you're thinking about a few steps ahead. But no, it definitely does. And in terms of like, it's a great leveler, cricket, in terms of you could go out and play brilliant one week, and then the next week you're out first ball, or you're dropping 2 catches and you're feeling rubbish. And that's what the kids are going through as well when they're, not able to do something that you're doing at training.
Brilliant. So when it comes to coaching, Rob, why did you get started in coaching?
It was just because I enjoyed working with kids, and there is an enjoyment and a rewarding aspect to coaching. Like I think I started coaching when I was 16 in the local soccer club. My uncle was coach there, and he brought me out, and I was just working 6, 7, and 8-year-olds, and I just really enjoyed it in terms of just a couple of hours in the morning, and you're just giving back. Yeah, there wasn't really anything else for getting involved.
No, that's brilliant. So obviously you're coaching a wide range of sports. Um, and obviously you've mentioned you play golf, you do a bit of hockey and you coach cricket. So in relation to, your session planning, how you coach, the actual skills and drills you coach, there's obviously an awful lot of crossover between those sports.
Yeah, especially in just the delivery of how you're coaching in terms of you always pretend you know exactly what you're talking about, no matter what the topic is. And once you kind of just put on that brave face and deliver something, like it's especially with hockey, like I don't really know what I'm doing coaching hockey. I just about played the odd time, and yeah, I probably coach more than I've played, especially in school. And I'm very happy doing it. But again, as you said, there's a lot of crossover in terms of the skills and how you even demonstrate something.
Brilliant. And then in terms of a coaching philosophy, do you have one? And if so, has it changed over the years of being a coach?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. Like I suppose when I was starting off, I thought coaching was all about setting out your cones and having everything prepared and practice. But I think once you're enthusiastic, that is probably the main thing that's gonna, especially with kids, is gonna attract them back. And I learned not too quickly, but I learned that it's not always about the child is going to go on and play for Ireland or the highest ambition. It's keeping as many people playing as possible. Like I know for like last Wednesday, I was coaching our women's team, which was all teenagers there, maybe 12, 15, 16 year olds. And it was about 26, 27 degrees at 6 o'clock. And what we did was we stood under the shade and we played French cricket for half an hour and they really enjoyed it. And that wasn't what was planned, but it's just they're enthusiastic. They're going to come back next week and they had a laugh. And that's what a lot of it is. And, your session is going to change depending on the team or the standard of player you're working with. Like, of course, if you are working with someone who does have ambition to play highly, you're going to be a bit different in how you deliver stuff and maybe what you want to get out of the session and what they want out of the session.
Brilliant. And then you mentioned there that you started in relation to coaching soccer. So, like in relation to coaching soccer, then how did you move on to coaching cricket or coaching hockey? How did it evolve?
So yeah, I'd done a couple of years of coaching soccer and done the FAI summer camps, and I think I ended up doing it for 6, 7 years. But I kind of moved into cricket coaching first purely because I was like, well, I've done coaching before and I'm no longer a junior in the club. I'm 18 years of age now. I can help on a Wednesday night coaching the 10, 11, 12-year-olds. Just because I said I had that coaching experience, and I kind of just took off from there. And I was very happy to go on and do the level 1 last year. And then with hockey, it was pretty much the same thing. It was like I've coached other sports. The school were looking for a hockey coach, and I said, yeah, I'll step in and I'll give it a go.
Fantastic. And then in terms of coaching, what's your biggest learning moment so far?
I think it came a few years ago, again, coaching soccer. I remember complaining and giving out about, a kid was annoying or he was, not listening. And I remember one of the coaches, a bit more experienced, turned around to me and said that he had done similar when he was younger, and a coach turned around to him and said that could be the best behaved that child's been all week, and that could be his favorite hour of the week, that where he feels safest and where he feels at his happiest, that you don't know that. And then it kind of struck me going, oh yeah, maybe I'm just being a bit harsh on this little 8, 9-year-old, and just kind of opened my eyes that there's again more to it than making someone a professional sports person, that if that's their safe hour of the week or their most enjoyable hour of the week, that's an awful lot to it, and you just keep them there and keep them happy.
That's a fascinating insight there, Rob. Thanks for sharing. And you mentioned just previously there about focus. Okay, so just asking you, how do you support your players to focus? And then obviously yourself in your coaching sessions, how do you remain focused?
I suppose it's always easy when there's kind of an event coming up, whether that be a match or you're setting yourself a target with a team in terms of we want to be able to produce this in a month's time. But again, if there is no real target like that, I suppose that's why everyone kind of trains, and that's where you're kind of coaching, whether it be for someone who's trying to run a marathon, they're obviously building up over time to practice for that. But I think once there is an end goal, it's always easier to focus on that with a team and say that's what we want to produce, whether that be at the end of the season, you want to be promoted, or you want to win a game in a season, or whatever it might be.
Brilliant. And then obviously you being a teacher, you've gone through your degree in relation to teaching, but aside from that, where do you learn in relation to coaching?
Um, Definitely talking to a lot of people, and I think watching sessions and watching what people do, and that can be across different sports. Like I always find it fascinating watching. Like I never really played rugby, but watching rugby training and just the level of respect that's drilled into the players in terms of what they have to have and the discipline that they have to have. Like I remember our school were in a cup final there, maybe February or March, and the whole team had wore in their uniform when they were realistically shouldn't have worn. Well, they could have wore in their PE uniform, but said they were representing the school in a rugby final and they wanted to look the part. And just kind of the crossover from different sports, then as well, you could say, how could you bring that into the sports I'm coaching? And just in terms of how stuff is delivered, and there's plenty of stuff online, whether that be on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and you can see different coaches coaching in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, England, wherever it may be, for cricket in particular.
That's brilliant. And then would you have any tips? Obviously, you're still very young yourself and you're young in coaching. Would you any tips for coaches coming through, like 16 to 20 years of age, or even coaches who are getting started as parents, maybe in their 30s and 40s?
Yeah, you don't need to know it all. I always find watching someone coach for the first time, they're kind of looking at you saying, did I say that right? Did I do that right? And in reality, the 7, 8 year olds that, you kind of start off with the youngest group, they're not going to call you out on it. Just have confidence with it. And like once you're kind of going in for the right reasons, that, you're not going to be the next, Alex Ferguson or anyone. You're going into it to coach what's there in front of you and help what's there. Like, again, with school, let's kind of give up a good few hours in the evening coaching. And remember the argument I was chatting to one of the teachers, like, well, if I didn't do it, that kid or the kids go without sport, and it's a privilege for them to have it. And if I have to spend an hour in my evening doing it, fine, because I'm sure someone did that for me when I was younger as well.
That's fantastic. And you're right there. Like at times like this and post COVID, it's very hard to get volunteers involved. And then in relation to that, then, like obviously you work across age groups within Mullingar. How hard is it to get volunteers at the moment, and how do you incentivize it to get coaches in?
Yeah, I found last year was actually the easiest with COVID, because a lot of people aren't going on holidays and a lot of people were remote working. But now people are kind of going back to the office and they might be working in Dublin, and it is getting a bit harder. I suppose the incentive is the person who's doing it has to enjoy it. No matter what you tell them, like, we're not paying anyone to coach, but once they enjoy it, they're going to be able to come back. But if they don't enjoy it, realistically, they can't come back. We're trying to get a few of the 16, 17-year-olds into coaching, and we did the Smash It in its Wicket in Mullingar this year, and they did really enjoy it, and a few of them have come back to coach on Wednesday evenings, which is great help for me as well. Plus, kind of gets them, it eases them into their kind of coaching journey, which is great for them, especially at that young age.
That's fantastic. And obviously, you're doing an awful lot within the club. Would you mind sharing what exactly you do within Mullingar?
Yeah, so I suppose going back a few years, we had a South African guy over Cavan Hall who'd be the same age as me, and we went into primary schools for the first time in 2017. And I'd say back in 2017, we maybe had about 15 to 20 youths in the club. And we went into maybe 5, 6 primary schools in 2017, and he came back in 2018. We did a few in 2019 and then 2021 and this year. And now we're probably looking at a total of about 75, 80 youths in Mullingar. It's kind of multiplied by 4. We have a women's team now, which is mainly made up of 15, 16-year-olds. But I won't exclude the 2 adults from that as well, who've joined in. We've been joining in Midlands under 11 blitzes with a couple of teams, and our thirds are mainly filled with a lot of guys that had kind of started from that primary school program back 5, 6 years ago now at this stage. We're looking to grow as much as possible. Like, we're hopefully, fingers crossed, we have a new ground on the way as well, which will help. Because I think the more cricket we kind of have growing around the country, like I know we're only an hour outside Dublin, but it'll only help the sport.
That's fantastic. And even the numbers you mentioned, there's a gradual rise, and it's a continuous rise, which is fantastic to hear. Just in relation to coaching resources then, Is there anywhere you'd recommend for coaches to go and check out to learn a little bit more? Obviously, you mentioned, social media and stuff, but is there anywhere specific?
Yeah, like I think when I'd started up for Smash It and It's Wicked, my idea was mainly to get our younger coaches coaching rather than even growing the numbers from what we had. Now it was great. We about I think 50% of the people on the camp were brand new to cricket, but the resources they got in the packs with Smash It and It's Wicked were fantastic just for young coaches starting off. The games were very easily explained in the packs, and they could basically just read it 5 minutes and then set out the cones, and then they were able to demonstrate what was needed to be done. It's very simple for a young coach starting off. And I think there is plenty out there. I think there's stuff on, I think I've downloaded from maybe Sussex or Surrey have kind of a pack on their website of a few different varying drills. And again, it depends on the standard you want to be coaching to.
Brilliant. And then, are you a podcast person or a YouTube person? Is there anything you'd recommend for anybody?
I actually don't listen to many sporting podcasts in terms of coaching. There is podcasts I do listen to that wouldn't help my coaching, but YouTube, I often can just type in the vaguest of things, maybe just cricket fielding drills. And if you have 15, 20 minutes to kind of just flick through stuff, you'll end up finding something that could be very useful and bring that in then as well. YouTube I do find very handy, and it's if you have a bit of time, it's very easy just to flick through, and you'll find stuff that you can't relate to and you can't do, or you'll find something that's brilliant, and then you just add that to your bank of resources yourself.
Brilliant, Rob. So obviously you're a teacher, and it's a fantastic foundation for coaching for anybody who's a teacher, because obviously you get so many learning skills from it. But in terms of the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see your coaching going, or where would you like to be?
It can be mixed. So I want to get as many people playing cricket as possible and staying playing. Like in school this year in Temple Carrick, we had 2 cricket teams. I think they may have had it in their first year or two. We had a senior team and a junior team, and there was a lot of people playing, and we made it to a semi-final of the senior A League, I think. And 4 of the guys played cricket, 7 didn't, but the 7 really seen the social aspect of cricket and really enjoyed it. And you know what, if 1 or 2 of them ended up taking up cricket after that, playing down with Greystone in their local club there, it'd be great, because not all of us are going to go on to play Division 1, 2. If there's lots down playing Division 18, 19, 20, it's even better, because then, more kids, brothers, cousins end up playing, and who knows from there. But again, I would like to kind of bring up the standard on coaching as well. Like I would like to do maybe one-on-one sessions, someone that is looking to pursue something a bit higher. Well, just have the ability to coach them as well. But yeah, there is kind of goals of varying degrees there.
Fantastic. And obviously you've mentioned your coaching in relation to other sports. Do you think you'll continue that over the next few years? And would you recommend to cricket coaches to work outside their own sport?
Yeah, because there's definitely stuff you can bring in, and especially with hockey, I know it's the winter and the summer sport, and they're kind of crossover, and there's a lot of personnel that play both. And again, it just kind of keeps you sharp in terms of, what you're working with, and you can always kind of nearly drive people in, like especially if you build a relationship. Like it's a lot of it is building a relationship with the people you're coaching with, and you could go to them, oh, well, look, you've been great at hockey here for the winter. Sure, if you're not going to do anything for the summer, come on down to the cricket club, or vice versa. You're coaching the cricket club and saying, look, the hockey club's 5 minutes out the road there. I'm going to be coaching again. 3 or 4 of the boys and girls here are playing. You come on down and try it yourself, and you can kind of integrate the 2 clubs there as well.
That's absolutely fantastic. Rob, short but sweet, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story on Coach Connects to all our followers. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thanks very much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed today's coach discussion. If you would like to share your coaching journey, log on to cricketprograms.com/Coach Connects and sign up today. Here are the social media recommendations discussed in today's coach discussion. Why not check them out and add to your coaching toolbox?